because if your prompt is not right, it is more like an art. The coolest language is English now. Cool. So now let's look at fine tuning, right? So like I said, okay, I have a base model, works very well, but then I want to, I prompted it is not giving me what I want. Then I'm fine tuning it so that I can update its parameter and that model works in the specific context that I want. Now to give you an example here, GPT-3, right? That is the base. We fine tuned it by giving it a lot of code. And I said, okay, boss, now you learn how to code. I need, if I give you Java, you give me Python, how does it work? Give it a lot of examples through GitHub and all, and then we have Codex, which powers the GitHub Copilot. And anyone uses GitHub here? Copilot? Copilot, sure. Started. So same thing with DALL-E. Right? So we have the base model, it knows text prompts, and then we kind of asked it to, okay, now I'm fine tuning you so that you can take my prompt, give me images. And as and then when the parameters go up, you saw how those teddy bears look like, right? And we have again fine-tuned codecs further to have NL2 Flow, PowerX, which are part of co-pilots that we have in our Power Platform apps. So I get these questions asked a lot. How do you fine-tune? Right? So here is the step of how do you fine-tune to do it. You have your base. In case of Azure OpenAI, you have a few of them to choose from: Ada, Babbage, Curie, DaVinci, GPT, embeddings. These are the few families of models that we have. You can pick any one, and then you upload your training set. Right? And you upload your validation set. So train, validate, right? And there is a specific format in which you have to give the prompt. So this is syntax. You give a prompt, you give completion. And the format is .json-l. Here's an example, right? You have a prompt and you have a completion. So you give as many as you can, 200, 300, more data set, the better it is. So once you have done this, the next part is you will configure some fine-tuning hyperparameters because you are updating the model's parameters, right? Some of these things are number of epochs, your batch size, what is the rate multiplier, and prompt loss, which say that should I focus more on improving the prompt or the completions. Right? And then, of course, once you review and train it, you deploy the fine-tuned model. It is only for you, not for the world. This one is for everyone, right? This is only for you. And you access it in the same way, the way you access the APIs. Anyone has done this? Fine tuning? You've done? It works?
Yes and no.
Okay. Yes. Why?
I think there are a lot of models out there, and it changes very fast.
Okay. Okay. But you were fine tuning it for your specific case, right?
Yes. So the foundation model, we created a sub-model for it.
Sub-model. Using the same. How many prompts you give? Just for my just curiosity.
So if you wanted to do this, you can actually do like humanly. You try out 100, then after that you exponential. Then you do a variation.
So what I did once was that I prompted GPT-3 to text data and asked it to create prompts.
Okay. So for example, for legal cases,
legal,
right, where it's a lot more constrained, it's a lot easier to come up with 100 prompts. Let's say you say divorce case, there can only be so many questions.
Got it.
You know, married for how long, kids, what's the property, for example. That's got a one shot. You can do many things. But if you're talking about other cases where there's a lot more variations, then the prompt has to be a lot. Does it make sense?
Yes, definitely. Legal cases, did you try embeddings by any chance?
Yes.
Cool, we'll get there. Okay, Okay, now let's look at applications. Right? This is going to be interesting. I think I have some time. Cool. So a lot of people ask me, okay, what is Microsoft and OpenAI work, right? So the base fundamental models that you see here, GPT Codex, this is all uh, done by OpenAI along with Microsoft. What Microsoft did was it created a supercomputer to help them to train this. And the challenge was that there was whenever you train large models, right, there is a constraint called as GPU wall. So no matter how many GPUs you have, there is a limitation of how much it can store. So what Microsoft did is that we created a concept called as a deep speed. Now, what this deep speed does is it tries to break the GPU wall by spreading your parameters across multiple computers, and that entire stack was powered by NVIDIA, and then it was a supercomputer specifically built to the concept of deep speed to train these models. And this all the open API, uh, all the APIs for OpenAI are only available exclusively through Microsoft. Right? So, so even if you use OpenAI, the free, I mean the open source one, right? Not open source, OpenAI from OpenAI. The backend, it is all based on Azure. So it is the same. You have a prompt, it will give you Codex is used for codes, DALI is used for your image generation, and the ChatGPT API is used to create conversational models. So when it comes to Azure AI, right, the challenge, it is not just OpenAI. We have an entire stack. Right? It starts from if you want to build your good old prediction models, classification, regression, clustering, PCA, anomaly. We have a platform called as Azure ML, which can be used to create your own model, deploy it in AKS, or then kind of call it as API, fine tune it, whatever. Now, using this base, what the layer two is customizable AI model. So for tasks which are generic, we have already created the base models like computer vision, speech to text, language translation. And within that, we also have Azure OpenAI service. Under this, we have a bunch of models, GPT-3, Codex, uh, then ChatGPT and DALI. Those are the families, right? Um, then what we have done is we have taken this layer and then said that, okay, you may want to do specific tasks. And for those specific tasks, we have fine-tuned or made it much better. Like to give you an example here, form recognizer. It is a combination of OCR plus ML. It is used a lot for having a specific format of the document extracted, and it knows that how would that format look like. Video indexer, right? It will help you to find who are the personalities, where to do what, clips, all these things, specifically for video. And then on top of that, to build, right, to build your bots and all these things, we have the Power Platform. Um, and it is used a lot in our applications like Dynamics, M365, and bunch of partner solutions as well. So just to be clear, right, Azure AI is not just this. It is the entire suite of things that you could use, and it's all part of Founders Hub anyways. Yeah. So there is, I mean, when you talk about open AI, right, there are families, and within them, depending on what kind of use case you have, we have different models, right? Ada, Babbage, Curie, they belong to the same family, but then it is doing specific tasks, and as the capabilities increases, the cost also goes. Simple. So why I'm showing this is that if your use case is very simple, I just want sentiments. I want just a simple classification. Don't go for this because it will cost you more. If the same thing can be done by a simpler but not that capable model, capable enough for what you want to do. Okay, this is an example of Copilot. So, like I said, Codex integrated within Copilot, it can do. You can just give it what you want to do. Boom, it will write code for you. Right? We have also integrated, and we are doing Copilots for everything now. So the same concept is also now in our uh, uh, this 365. So you have Priva sales, marketing. We have bots here. So the Copilot concept is being kind of integrated in all the product offerings that we have. So this is what Microsoft is doing. Now let me share something on so when it comes to just to kind of summarize what it can do, right? So it can do summarization, it can do content generation, it can do sentiment, it can do information extraction, translation, code generation, semantic search, all these things, right? But then this is for when internet was there, it was there. But what changed way we way we use internet is anyone? What changed the way we use internet? Browser. Yeah, because that gave you an access to the whole new world of internet because you could browse. Same thing is here. It can do a lot of things, but then the interface that you may choose to expose these is a smart agent.
Sorry, just sorry to be that guy, but this all implies zero cost to the user. This is when we run this thing locally. The way you guys currently allow us this to use, it's a massive cost on every query. So this is a pipe dream for the time being until we can run stuff at the cost of electricity. Because I can't go and ask my browser to do stuff for me if I'm going to pay 25 cents every time when I do this 150 times a day. So cool, super cool, not even close. Unless I pirate the Facebook model and run it on my Mac, right? Which is a different story.
Yeah.
And so sorry,
So that's okay. But that's the way we.
This is a McKinsey slide. Like
no, but
sorry, sorry. I agree, it's gonna come, but it's not there yet.
why do you say it's not there yet?
Because to do this on a daily basis, so I try to, if you try to do this as a human at any point, right? You're gonna do this 15 times a minute or something, try to do something. How much does it cost me to ping OpenAI to do this?
Okay.
So I have 25 queries on GPT-4 right now as a paying user, probably cheaper when I go for Microsoft. You cannot have this fully available everywhere if it's going to cost me $1,000 a day to use it, right?
Yes.
And until the business model changes and we can run it locally at no cost, this is inaccessible to people. It's not the same as having a browser or a phone because those were zero marginal cost usage devices.
So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that you may want to use all. You may want to pick and choose what specific you want to use.
Yeah.
Right. So why I'm also saying this is that a lot of startups that I'm working with now, they are building these these bots, but that bot may not do everything. That bot may do only specific things in the context of what they want to do. So you have to tailor that. But all I'm saying in this slide is it is capable of doing all these things at a cost. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Now, let me now showcase something that I'm working with startups. Right. So I have two examples. One is we are building on your point, right? Chatbots. Right. So let me try to tell you what do I mean. Right. So there is a project that I am working with a startup wherein they do farming as a service. Now this farming as a service, what they have a lot of land parcels in Indonesia, and within those small parcels they would use technology to improve the farm yield, and they will lease it out to the farmers and get money from that. The main thing is that they have a role called as agronomist. Now, what this agronomist does is it does few things. Number one, it will help the farmer to guide on what are the specific ingredients that it should use, fertilizers, all these things to have a specific yield. Right? Second thing it does is that it will help the farmers to identify what kind of disease, not the farmers, but the company. If I see a yellow patch here, what could that be? Right? So we tried to use GPT-3, it failed. But then with GPT-4, it worked really good, right? The similar thing we are doing with having something called as a GPT nutritionist. So here it's more for the concept is the startup is working for home cooks, right? So they want to create a platform for home cooks, uh, like they think of it like Uber for home cooks. Right? So what they want to do is that they want GPT to advise the home cook that given this kind of specific ingredients, what are my options of recipes? That is one thing. And how do I make it calorie free, or sorry, gluten free, or this thing? Because the possibilities are a lot, right? So let me.
But can you do that like with ChatGPT now? Like you can go on
Yes.
there, you can just do all that.
Let us do.
But is somebody doing it like as an application? But you can already do it.
We are
in the,
building it now because GPT-4 is out like last month.
yeah.
You could do it with GPT-3, but the quality is not that
Or
great.
GPT-4 even. Like, so you can I can go in and do myself a meal plan and nutrition and a.
Look at this.
Right. Yeah.
I will show you. So this is the prompt that we gave it, and this is just one example. There are many such like this. So prompt we gave it saying that okay, you please grow cabbage in some place. Your soil NPK is this. I would recommend whatsoever, and ask me more questions if you want. Now, GPT-4, if you look at its capability, it just passed everything, bar exam, biology, medical there. So it is quite smart. It depends on how you prompt it. So then when I asked it, okay, can you ask me more if you require, if you ask me all these things. What is the size of the field? What is the expected yield cabbage? What is soil pH? These are very specific, right? Very specific. And then I gave it all the answers, of course, the startup because they know this stuff. And answer we gave was like this, right? Based on any information provided, what should be the nitrogen, what should be the phosphorus, potassium, but it also tells you a caveat here, right? However, it is essential to consult a local agricultural expert. Now this, when they saw this, they said like, we want to do this. And as of now, we are helping them to build that bot. Now, second case which I said, right? Nutritionist. So I gave it a prompt, simple prompt. You are this. The ingredients I have is this. Give me the following: overall calorie count, breakdown of macros, indicate if it is gluten free or not, indicate if it is nut free or not. This is just one example, a lot of them, and it gave me this. So creating these kind of smart bots is a possibility now.
So what? Just trying to clarify. What do you mean by smart bot? Isn't it this already?
No, but this is just an interface, right?
Yeah.
You have to deploy it in some kind of an app.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
Right? You cannot.
I just
because-
wouldn't bother with the app, like just use that, right?
No, but I want to make
script,
sure.
right? Most people don't even know how to type a script.
Right.
I agree with you.
So what we are saying, what we are doing here is we are creating an app bot, something like this. Okay. This bot is then integrated in a channel, which could be Teams, web, or in their own app. Right. Now, when the home says for home cook, right, he or she will use this chatbot, which is part of the app, and then it will tell you, I can do this. Can you ask me the required questions? The brain behind it is OpenAI.
I have a question. Is it science-based or because some the answer, right, you are putting the nutrition and all those information. Is it really like that just a language model or is that based on the scientific or calculation it's creating?
So GPT-4 has more than 1 trillion parameters. So it knows a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I'm just what I'm doing here is I'm just prompting it
yeah.
to give me the answer that I want. It knows a lot of things, but I don't want to know many things. I just want to be. I just want it to behave like a specialized bot.
Okay, I give you the one example. Right? For example, the bidding, this construction, just the bidding, and then I need to do all the engineering calculations. And then it's very complex calculation. Is it possible or it's like very simple?
So think of it like this, right? If it is there in the internet, if it is there in some kind of a text or document that is there in the internet, there is very high chance that GPT-4 would know it because it is trained with that corpus. But it is very specific to your case, then it will not know. then you have to take that bot or take that model and fine tune it for it to understand your domain.
And yeah, so that's clear. But how to verify whether the answer
You'll
is
try and see. You prompt GPT-4 and see whether it knows or not. It may not know everything, but if you think that whatever it knows is good for me as of now.
And the question is how to ensure that, like, because like we also need to ask GPT whether are you sure or not. So the question is like how to, what's the technique that you advise to us, like, okay, we GPT is faking it or
No, you should, there has to be some guy who knows stuff, right? In-house expert. He will verify it, validate it.
Okay. Okay, so which means like it has
See,
been.
don't trust it fully, okay?
Yeah. Definitely. I just check with you. I want exactly.
It will give you a draft. It is up to you to verify it.
Yeah. So if the human in the loop is for sure, that is what you recommend, and then like during the full deployment, then how to ensure that the question that answer is reliable. We just put in that.
Yeah. So what we do is all these conversations are stored somewhere.
Okay.
And somebody will have to go and see whether this makes sense or not. If not, you change the prompt such that give it more constraints to feed it in the right manner.
I see. Yeah. Thank you.
Add on to the gentleman over there. I think what they're looking for is called ChatGPT hallucination. So it is where ChatGPT is not is generating based on the tokens what is predicted, but it's actually senseless.
Yeah.
And that is why it cannot do what you want to do. What you're asking for is an expert system, and what the gentleman there is saying to you, you're going to create a sub model for it.
Yeah.
So that's where the NER comes in to make sure that your model is correct, and that's where the human comes in.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another box over there, somewhere there.
Yeah. So that's because my understanding is limited for sure. So that's why I just verifying.
Can be.
Thanks.
So one of the things that we are also doing, I'm just conscious of the time. How much time we have? Yeah. Is embeddings, right? So this is again like if you have specific, which is the documents and all, it is only used by you, right? You only have that thing. So what we are doing is that we are trying to extract embeddings out of it, which is basically a numerical vector, which can be stored in some kind of a vector DB like Pinecone, Quadrant DB, and so on, right? So scenarios here is that, say, like for law, right? You have a bunch of things, documents, cases, all these things, right? And you want to have a method to question that or query that, right? Now, what we do is we take that corpus, be it PDF file or whatever, divide it into chunks, and then using OpenAI embedding models, create embeddings out of it, right? So think of it. The cool thing about embeddings is that it understands the context, right? It understands the context. It stores the meaning of the word in vector space. So when I'm asking a query to it, it will convert my query into embeddings and then say, okay, it is very similar meaning of this vector space, and then give you that answer. So this is very cool stuff if you have your own documents that you want to use. And what we can do is we can use embeddings and then create some kind of a chatbot which will help, which you can interface these embeddings to. Right? We have done this internally. So all the documents that we have in Microsoft SharePoint and everything, we have different types of embeddings. You can just use a bot to say that, okay, I want to know which partner is doing well, which partner is doing not. As far as the corpus is there, it will give you that answer.
Question: will that pull the query only from one chunk, or is there a way to associate
Multiple. Is there a way to? So essentially, it will pull from that vector, one chunk. It's not chunk, one document. Okay. So what happens is, see, why you want chunks, want to chunk it, because there is limitations of tokens, right? But so you extract the document, uh, put it in chunks, create embeddings of the entire document, put that in something like a Pine. As long as you have multiple uh, such documents, right? It can all go into that one terabyte. It will have multiple embeddings, and then you can query those embeddings as part of this. So what happens is in this case, right? If let me give you an example. So in this case, I'm having quadrant DB as my vector DB. Embeddings are done. All my embeddings are stored here. Think of embeddings as the numerical representation of my text with the context and semantic and the meanings. Okay. And I'm using ChatGPT created a bot who with whom I can talk. This bot will only query here and then give you the answer. That means that I am able to query my complex internal text with the bot. I mean, it can be used in law, in your own enterprises where you have documents that you need to kind of get information from. It can be used in any kind of manual that you may have, right? I mean, possibilities are endless.
Will that work if, oh, sorry, thank you.
Sure.
Will that work if we want a more high-level summarization? For example, like, I'm embedding like a financial report of a company, right?
Yes.
Then I want to know, like, give me 10 things I need to know about the performance of this company last year.
Yeah. So that is where the power of GPT comes in, right? Ultimately, it's a chat GPT which can also do some summarization. So it will go in, extract the text that you need, okay, and you can tell it, okay, now this text looks good, summarize it for me.
Oh, sorry, you jump straight into that. If because we split into chunk, right?
Yes.
Is the query?
No, chunks. I'm splitting into chunks is only because I want to be able to call. I mean, create these embeddings.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
But the entire context of the document remains the same within this DB.
Right. Okay.
You're not querying the chunk. You are querying the document. The way I store the document is through vector space, vector DB. But only to create these embeddings, I do it in chunks.
Right.
That's it. Sorry.
Okay, so I just, when you're querying that embedding, is it also using a wider kind of chat GPT context of what it knows?
No, so what happens is when I query, right?
Yeah,
This question is language,
yeah,
right? I will then convert this question into an embedding. And then I will say, okay, I will do a lookup here. It's as simple as that. I will do a lookup, but I'm doing a lookup of semantics.
Right.
That if my book is about data science, say,
yeah,
and there are 4 maturity stages of data science, and I ask this query, what are the 4 stages of data? It
Yeah.
knows that okay, you are asking for this context,
yeah,
and it will go to this, do a nice lookup,
yeah,
and then give you that answer
yeah,
that is again translated into English,
yeah.
and you get an answer.
Okay, all right. But it's not right, I think I get it. Yeah.
So sorry, what, say, let's say I have a trade secret,
Okay.
and if I put it in, so how is that going to help?
Trade secret.
Like, you know, a trade, a formula or something like that I don't want to.
Then don't do it. You see, the point is simple, right? It is not like if you have the right kind of security framework in place, you know that okay, I will not give access to this to everyone. It is in your own domain. Right? It is your own document.
I don't think he's asking that. He's asking you about those icons of Azure OpenAI, and if you're sending stuff to it, how safe is it?
Is that your question?
Yeah, I have that question, but yeah.
You know, yeah.
No, you are only giving it the answers, right? We are not storing anything. OpenAI is not storing anything.
But in the context of asking that question, you are revealing your secret, right? Because you're setting constraints, you're setting something, you're giving it information in that sense. like, you know, the big hoo-ha about Samsung, right? And,
I'm going to answer that. Samsung is OpenAI, that's public domain. So you can actually Google for this. Yes, the Samsung, I think engineers, they were very happy to use ChatGPT without understanding, and it was leaked.
Oh,
Yeah, it was.
Mm.
But to answer your question is that there is actually a setting to lock down your trade secrets AI model that's not accessible by ChatGPT. Because for LLM, large language model, but it's for everybody. So think of it as public versus private. So you lock your private, and your chat is within your private.
so using the way we do fine tuning, you create the
In the
copy of the base.
fine-tuning, you can classify the library to go through the pipeline.
Okay.
You point to your specific AI model.
So essentially what you're saying is that in this case, they can create a copy of the base, right?
No, I mean, you can actually build your own base, or you can do a foundation model and just extrapolate part of it.
Mm.
But the point is that that particular AI model, you can actually classify, put it as private. So when the encoder comes in to read the information, think of it as a two-key process, two LA.
I mean, just if you have the key only, then you can read.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
something like that. Yeah,
So I guess that applies for personal information. If you start
Yes,
using it for the-
correct. Because this comes down to AI ethics already and responsibilities.
cool. And I just want to check, so it's a little bit more technical, because just to understand, on the embedding side, right? Because from what I understand from embedding, right, it's like because we have the OpenAI, the GPT-3 has been trained on like all the different parameters and everything. Right? So when you want to embed, say for example, a document, right? So essentially what you're doing is you're converting the document into vectors,
Vector
the vector space, right? But then the idea of a vector space is because you're trying to understand like which words appear in context of another word, right?
You're trying to capture the semantic of that.
Yeah.
The meaning of that.
So
in the context of the sentence.
yeah, but then because right, so when you have a document, right, the document has its own context, where else GPT is trained on a different kind of context. Right? GPT is trained on the whole 175 billion context, right?
Okay.
So I'm just trying to understand, right, like with these two in mind, right, when I'm actually doing the embedding using GPT-3, how does it play around with the context that's within my document versus the...
No. So simple. Okay. So when you're doing embeddings here, right, it is embedding your text, right? I'm not here. The API that I'm using is the embeddings API, not the ChatGPT API. Right? You may want to use your own chatbot here. It is as long as you can query it here, right? As long as you can query your database through any means. It could be a chatbot, it could be a simple search. You can do it. Chatbot here I'm just showing so that you have an interface with whom you can chat. I'm not using any GPT-3 chat GPT here. Only here I'm using it. Does it make sense?
I'm not asking about ChatGPT side. I'm asking about the embedding side.
So
Because
So you see, okay, when if I go back to the slide, right? There is a base GPT model. It can do a lot of things. One of the things it can do very well is embeddings. Right? In fact, in the transformer architecture, when the model is trained, the first thing you do is you do input embedding. So this API here, only thing it is doing is it is creating a vector space out of the document or out of the corpus of text. It is not doing anything like summarization, the other things that GPT can do.
yeah, but because I'm asking specifically on the context itself. So using like one of the earlier examples, right? You mentioned like if I were to ask, I were to get the chef put what in a cookie, right? So because GPT has been trained on all the stuff, GPT will obviously the most relevant word that you get back is probably sugar. Right?
Okay.
Why my document is salt, example, right? Like all my the document I use is recipes, all salt.
So if your document here says that okay, cookie goes well with salt. Let's take that assumption. Okay, your document says here, cookie goes well with salt. When I'm asking the question, what goes well with cookie, right? I'm only trying to search this document, saying, okay, as per this document, cookie goes well with salt. It will not give it your own its own thought. It will only search the document here, understand your question's context, and then say that, okay, what does this, where is this context in the document? So it will give you the answer that the cookie goes well with salt. It is not trying to use its own understanding. It is only trying to give you that what is there in this document. So does it make sense?
Yeah, I mean, basically what I'm saying is that the context, in terms of embedding, right, it's just local, purely local context.
Exactly. But you can do a lot of other things. Right?
So I have a question there, a leading question there. When one is talking about local content in any of my unstructured documents, could it be the content of the document is pulled from ChatGPT, OpenAI, or whatever, and then I make this entire flow?
No,
Then
no,
give
no.
me everything which was captured by in terms of that document. This is a Word document, right?
So you have a Word document.
But what is the genesis of that Word document? My own data.
Your own document.
But if I pull it out from a web browser or something and put that data in and create a Word document which pushes this, is it possible?
Yeah, I mean,
On a particular document.
you can do it, right? But what is the intent there? The intent in here, the intent is I have my own documents. I need a very smart way to query it. Simple. Okay. And hence, what is a smart way? You could do word to vec, but it is not that smart. Right?
Sure.
So the smartest way to do it is create embeddings. So you can use this one. You can also use BERT or whatever. I'm only doing that. Okay. I'm not.
Largely, you would say that this really works well when you have your own large content data.
Large or small.
Or whatever. Your own personally owned validated data, right?
Yeah, so instead of spending time going to reading the document, doing a lot of things, I need a way which can help me get information quickly from that word, from the corpus of words. And if that is your case, then yes, this makes sense.
Perfect. Thank you.
How are you on time? All okay?
Sorry, a quick non-technical. Do you provide channel for Q&A like this?
This is the channel.
No, I mean, after the
Yeah, we can chat.
right.
We have
Because timing is limited, right?
yeah, I think we have and you have that mail, right? Michael Seaman, just send it anything you have.
Right.
Connect with me on LinkedIn and we can sure.
Thank you.
We can talk.
Do we also get the copy of this presentation?
Yes. Sir.
Oh, while looking for that.
I didn't ask you to take. Okay. Startups. Okay. So this is quite a lot of inputs for this have come up with from myself as well. We were brainstorming a lot. I would try to tell you what we are doing. Right. So one thing we are doing is we are working with a lot of startups to change their offering to revolve around generative AI. You saw a few examples there, right? So we are trying to help them to understand, okay, what can you do, how can make your product better and use this, else there is a very high chance that you would be disrupted. And I will tell you why, right? Second is, can you create a marketplace? So you have your own models, like if you have heard of Hugging Face, yeah, so it has plenty of models that you could use, right? So can you contribute there and then make it a paid model? Have you heard of something called as prompt based? Prompt based. The company called as prompt based, it will sell prompts for some money, which can be used to fine tune or whatever, right? So you can do that, and I'm sure that now with the launch of OpenAI, what is that, plugins, you are going to have a marketplace for plugins as well. Now, third thing that we are saying is, what if startups are already in Series B, see, they already have established a product market fit because they are, but then can I replicate the entire product market fit with lower cost? I'm having my GPT, I will use mid journey, I will do a lot of these things to give you that same offering at a lower cost. That means disrupting the startups that have already established a product market. So if you don't do number one, somebody will do number three, right? So like here, right? Build cheaper, faster, better. That we have already shown the product market fit. If you, so if you don't do number one, somebody else will do number three, and I've known a lot of VCs who want to try this out. Can I build better, faster, cheaper, and then replace my competitor? So I think that was my last slide, I believe. I think here are a few examples of startups. I did have a demo, but I'm not sure. Yeah, this is your notice, not what you think. Don't think incrementally, just a few food for thought. Do we have time for a quick demo or we're done? Done? Okay, cool. So I think we already discussed a lot, so I will skip this and I will pass on to you for your. Thank you.
Do we have any more questions for Pradeep? Oh, there are a lot of other questions.
Yeah, but do you want to take it now? Do you want to take it
Yeah,
outside?
please take it.
Yeah, sure.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Now, when I was trying to convert text into embeddings, one way is like using the API. Can I do it via the ChatGPT interface, like using a prompt? Let's say convert this kind of a bunch of text into embeddings. Can I do that?
I don't think you can try, but I don't think it will work because embeddings are a different type of algorithms already. Right? So using GPT, I haven't tried it, but in my gut feeling that it will not work. It will spit out something random.
Okay. And the second question is referring to a gentleman's question just now. I think for his case, is he wants to know the confidence of the content generated by ChatGPT. So I came up with one idea. I want to know whether it's practical. Can I ask, I put that confidence in a prompt, say, ask a question, then I prompt, can you also give me your confidence in generating this kind of a response? Does that work?
Have you tried it?
No, I just asked.
Yeah, I have not tried it, but whatever it is, right, I would not trust it completely. I would take it as a prompt, a draft, and I will do my own human evaluation for anything which is important. Right?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Last question.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit. Let's say you sort of go back to your document example and you preview your documents. Let's say you've got some that are within an organization, you've got individuals with access rights to some information and other without. Can you do that kind of thing?
You have to do it. See, how we have done it, right? We have corpus of documents.
Yeah.
Then, if I don't have access to all of them.
Yeah.
I have to pick and choose which I have access to,
Yeah.
and then I can say that okay, I have access to this one. I will query it. So that is outside the scope of the model which you saw, but then it has to be at the right role-based access control level. Right? So you would create these corpuses and put it somewhere. Right?
Yeah.
Then embeddings.
But it could be personal information or something like that or whatever.
Typically, you would want to clean up all these.
Yeah.
Anything which is PII, you don't want to share, just clean that up. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then only specific to the content that you want to ask. Right?
Yeah.
Only create embeddings for this.
Okay, so you'd always have to create an embedding per user role, as it were.
No, you can say that okay, I have a collection of this documents.
Yeah.
I have a collection of this document. You don't have access to this. You only have access to this. So that has to be done through RBAC. Always access. So we have something called as active directory, which can do that. And then of course within the DB also you can have those parameters now, right? Like who can see what. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much to everybody for all the questions. We've had such a robust discussion. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Amanda, Head of Engagement and Partnerships at Asia Startup Network. And this session is actually brought to you, by Asia Startup Network in partnership with Microsoft. So thank you so much to Pradeep and Michael for your presentation. I'm sure there are a lot of takeaways today. I do see that some of you have already scanned your QR codes here. So if this session actually interests you, there are actually a lot more upcoming events that are similar to this in the pipeline. So please do scan the QR code to join our community, Asia Startup Network, and we'll be very happy to meet you all again in the upcoming session. So for the last slide on what's coming, we do have Move for Hope, which is a charity initiative where you can clock miles, and the proceeds will actually be donated to our beneficiary. And if you're interested, please sign up over here, scan the QR code. And also for any of you avid runners or cyclists, or if you're just simply wanting to pick up exercising again after being a couch potato for 3 years during COVID, so you can join us every Friday or Saturday on for weekly runs and cycling. So that's what I want to say. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be happy to see you in our upcoming events. Oh, can we also take a group photo, please? Yeah. Can we? I think we should take a
Selfie.
selfie.
Long hands. Wow.
Okay. Does anyone have long hands? Oh my gosh. I cannot see.
Maybe I can get someone to help.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. Torrance back. Torrance, I can take it from higher.
Okay, thank you so much. We just need a photo.
Yes.
Take a photo today.
Yes.
How are we doing it?
We're gonna sit in the audience?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I'll take it.
I'll do it.
Oh, okay.
Torrance.
Okay.
I palm the kid off to somebody.
Just close it.